for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Good job, boys. Did wonderful.
Yeah.
I heard every word of that. All right.
He was leading me.
Okay, and I will entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the agenda as written.
Okay, and discussion? Okay, not hearing any. Signify by saying aye.
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 Aye as well, and not hearing any other, that passes. And looks like our two students will be out today, and we are excusing Arla today, and Jackie can get that noted on the minutes for us. And then we're right on down here to,
Jackie,
doing that
are
right?
there any public comments on the agenda?
okay, didn't think we did. And then we don't have a student board, so right on to our HomeLink graduates.
So we have a very special event this weekend, and special things like this always make me tear up a little bit, so you're probably going to hear a little bit of that in my voice. Tonight, we have a special graduation for one of our students from James Taylor HomeLink. Emily Leyva is going to graduate with us tonight. We're very proud of her. So in just a moment, I am going to ask Emily to meet me right in front of the desk here. And I am going to hand her her diploma folder. And Emily, you will get a diploma to put inside of that later from the school. I am also going to invite the board members to shake her hand in congratulation. We're really proud of the work that you did to get here and to be able to graduate tonight with us. And we're so happy for you and know you'll have a wonderful future going forward. So, by the authority vested in me as superintendent of North Mason School District, I hereby declare that you have satisfied all state and school district requirements and are now a qualified graduate of the North Mason School District. Members of the board and all the members of the audience, please join me in congratulating Emily Leyva on her graduation.
That's awesome.
So now you have time to convince mom to have something yummy for dinner, right?
Well, this is very special, and I know when we have a whole bunch of people going through and you kind of just get to do it and go by, and you're the one person right here, and I know that's a little nerve-wracking, but we're really proud of you. So, thank you.
This right here is better to me than you get the big thing. I want the big thing. I like it little.
Yeah,
Good.
that's wonderful.
Wonderful.
And I love your shoes. Oh, that's
They're
so great.
awesome. Congratulations
Awesome.
again, Emily.
Congratulations.
I know you'll do wonderful things in the future. All right.
Cool.
Okay.
Okay, and now I'm just losing track because I'm super excited here, so. Okay, is this the food service presentation is
Get
next?
to the consent agenda.
No? Oh, well, because I'm so excited, I'm moving on. All right,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank
so
you.
much.
Congratulations.
Congratulations.
A little more specialized than our regular graduation.
There you go.
Not everybody gets one of these.
No?
yeah, and then she's got her excitement behind her too, look at that go.
Wonderful.
Yeah, go out and
Thank
celebrate.
you.
Guys. All right, and then we are on to the consent agenda, and I will entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I will make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
All right, any discussion on that? Okay, not hearing any, signify by saying aye for passing it.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry, I'm sorry, I was trying to scroll down, sorry, to see what was all listed in the consent.
I think she did have a question, one.
Oh,
Sorry,
I'm
sorry.
sorry, I skipped right on and just,
That's okay. The Right at School agreement that superintendent presented to us, I was wondering if the prices that they have quoted us are comparable to either providers that we have in town, and/or providers that are serving other districts around us.
Yes, so the team actually investigated 3 different vendors to provide this service, and this vendor was the lowest priced, but with the most services offered, and so we felt that that was a really good combination.
Yeah.
The other vendors are present in our surrounding districts, so is this one. It's the one that's been around the longest. It's been in Bremerton for a number of years and other districts around our region, and they've been very happy with the services. The prices are comparable or lower to what's available locally, and in some, as you move into Kitsap and away, even much more favorable prices. And then with this service, if our families take advantage of it, there is a military family discount. There is a discount for multiple children. There is one, there is a recognition of vouchers if you're a family that receives free and reduced or other food aid. And there is also a employee discount for employees of the school district. So even though this company is not part of us, our employees would get a very substantial discount if they choose to use the service.
Okay, and the 6 o'clock a.m. beginning time for before school is keeping in mind any military and or federal government families that we have that need to be at work early?
Yes, it's actually typically right at school, and the other vendors start their services at 6:30 a.m. But for like our neighbors like Bremerton, they are 6 to 6. So we are using the same hours, 6 to 6, to be in recognition of hopefully being a little more available for those families who have military connections in their work that would want to use the service.
Okay. And then, I apologize, I'm shifting gears. The Bates Technical College agreement, that is not Running Start, am I understanding that correctly? Is that college in the high school?
I have to look at it again. It could be either or both. So
Okay.
what letter is that?
Um,
There it is, right under,
G.
right?
yeah. I guess I was just curious, why there's an agreement with, or what would be the difference between having an agreement with Bates Technical College and having an agreement with,
OC.
yes.
We have an agreement with OC too.
Okay.
But, yeah, Bates is, it is a Running Start agreement, or, oh, wait. No, this is just for, if they can't go to our West Sound Tech and get services, they can go there and get services. But the services there can also be, and Lexi can help me with this because she's CTE. Our CTE courses, our career and technical ed, are cross-credited with that colleges, with OC and Bates, so that they can get college credit from them and high school credit at the same time. But this is just, we sign this every year so that our kids can go to Bates if they choose to, if OC or West Sound Tech or other offerings don't meet their needs.
Can't.
And we have a couple kids every year, not a lot, that choose to go across the bridge to Tacoma.
Okay.
If I may add, it's the
Thank you.
programming. Bates has technical programs that Olympic College doesn't offer.
Mhm.
So if we can articulate and cross-credit or earn dual credit for our students, it just gives them a leg up for when they apply to Bates, they're really not taking the same course over again. So they're going with credit so they can be a little bit further advanced.
Okay, do we provide transportation?
For Bates?
No.
Yeah.
No, not across the bridge. We do provide transportation to West Sound Tech. Students that are running START have to arrange their own transportation to and from those schools.
Okay, and is this, do we get the running start rate for this, or how is this funded? Or is it this enhanced CTE funding?
If our students are going to Bates for Running Start, it is Running Start funded. We're not getting any CTE funding. If they are taking classes here at North Mason High School that are articulated at Bates, we are getting the enhanced CTE funding, and then students are earning dual credit. So they're earning North Mason credit and Bates, technical
Okay.
college credit.
Thank you.
Thank you for the help, Lexi.
Well, thank you for being so on top of that you were able to just answer like, boom. You are wonderful. Okay, any other discussion? Okay, not hearing any now. I look up and look around here. For that to pass, let's signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. And all, or none opposed, then that passes. And now, we are down here to the food service presentation.
Okay, I'm nervous, so I'm usually in the kitchen, not here.
Mm-hmm.
So if you could take out your phones, we've got a game we're gonna play. It's a quiz. It's fun, though.
Good, I don't look like him.
Is this just school board, or is this audience included, or
Everybody.
everybody? Okay.
Everybody, the more the merrier. Let's see, Windows K. Oop. All right. Oop. How do I get that down? Oh, okay. I thought I was connected.
Because I probably messed it up in all our phone meetings earlier today using the system.
Okay. Some fun music. Sounds like we should be on Tropics or something.
This is great hold music, though.
It's what?
Great hold music, like if you're on the phone.
Yeah, right? I would love to have music like this.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, I just went to sleep.
I do like that music.
Yeah.
I was just saying today we needed to fix our hold music because it's really annoying.
No.
Turn them off and turn them back on,
All of them?
the screens, yeah. Let's just reset them real quick.
Sorry.
It's
Oh.
right here. Yeah.
All right,
Thank you, Chris and Jackie.
Sorry. Like I said, I'm not techie.
Sorry, you had tech right in the room. Works today. Is your Wi-Fi set over here?
My Wi-Fi is on.
Oh, I have Bluetooth on.
Let's do what it's thinking.
You're trying to go to the box on the bottom? Is that what you're saying? Yes. Because I think this typically.
Normally, I have an HDMI cable with me in my bag because I present a lot at work, so I'm like,
I'm sorry.
Oh, no, we're just thrilled you're here. And I believe you brought goodies too, so that gives you quite a bit of grace.
Okay, thank you.
Like,
I know my way around and
no, it's,
Okay.
I go around with my samples or like going, okay, we made this today. What do you think? System loading. Okay. Fingers crossed. Couldn't connect.
It's still saying couldn't connect.
There you go.
Yes, here we go. All right, so you go to, you see where it says, join in at www.kahoot.it, or do the QR code.
Oh, we're doing it. Okay, I got it.
We're doing it. I wanted you guys to get some information, what's like working in food service. Some of these questions I did at the beginning of the school year because I was brand new this year. Didn't know any of the ladies. I know how lunch ladies can be. So I thought something like this would be fun, and they had a blast. And I gave them Starbucks cards for the ones you actually get graded on this. So we'll have a first, second, and third.
Now they're all really working hard to get up there.
I know. They're like, oh, I don't have prizes today, sorry. I didn't have time. Dan,
DK. That's me.
I know you. He's seen this already.
Maybe I shouldn't play. I know.
You can still do it. You can still do it,
there's always a
You
plan.
can skew the curve there, Dan.
right? All right, are we all in?
We're in.
Okay, so,
I'm in.
what are the 5 components of a reimbursable meal?
Oh, do I push it on here?
Yeah, you gotta push
Yeah.
one of
Oh,
the
okay, I get it.
boxes. And the faster you answer, the more points you get.
Okay. Damn. Or darn. See how I
Alright.
play games with my kid, yeah.
Nicole.
Oh, we still got points?
Yep.
That's like a participation reward.
Total
Many
years
points.
of our nutrition staff.
Years of experience?
Years here.
Oh.
Wait, say that again?
How many total
North
years
Mesa
of our
School?
nutrition staff combined?
Oh, okay. I was gonna pick that one.
153 years. I have one, my lead in my high school, she's been here since 1996.
Wow,
Wow.
that's fantastic.
Wow.
What do you do if a child does not want to take a fruit or veggie?
Throw his whole tray away. That's what I'm picking.
Right. For them to have a reimbursable meal, they have to take a half a cup of fruit or vegetables. Oh, we got a new first person. All right. How long do you wash your hands for? Yep.
Well, in my
Health
food
department
service, I had a
rules.
really clean kitchen, so.
You'd be shocked at the rules, how they've changed through the health department. It's like
Yeah.
every year something will change, and we have to be on top of this. That's why we have training. Let's see, is Chris still in it? Yes.
Sorry, no cookie for you.
What is the danger zone? $41 to $135.
For cold holding, right?
That's the danger zone. So if food goes above 41 or below 135, that's where the bacteria grows the
okay, I see what you
fastest.
mean.
So we call that the
I
danger
got that one
zone.
right, by the way.
Good job.
I don't have a shop anymore.
Wasn't
so-
Tom Cruise. Well, it was, but you know. All right.
Chris has a question mark by his name.
Cooking temps for 165, 158, and 145. Yep. Hamburger used to be 165, went down to 155, now it's 158.
Ah. I'm on the bottom, what's wrong with me?
If you prepare a meal and refrigerate it on September 15th, when is the throwout date?
When it's hairy.
Well, you know. My husband would wait until it's green and hairy. It's actually 7 days, and the day you make it is the first day you count.
I don't feel bad that I threw it away on the 18th.
Can you cut a ready-to-eat food on a cutting board after cutting raw chicken?
Can you cut a food cutting board on after?
That would be bread, things that are not cooked.
If it smells clean,
Why not?
if you wipe it off with a
Like I said, I had some fun with this one.
Yeah.
Right.
Chris is back there cheating.
He's back there
With a
Googling probably.
question mark. He's got the whole group back there. When do you need to stick?
When you don't.
When you just can't.
That was today. There you
I
go.
kind of feel like. the
Did
right
you
one.
notice I put the more cowbell because he had a prescription?
Uh-huh.
He has a fever. All right. How many nachos have we served this year?
So many.
Feels like a million, but that's not the answer. Yep,
19,000? My
Yep.
son would be so proud.
that is probably one of our most popular menu items. And this is just a poll. Who has the best lunch ladies? It's kind of hard to fail this one. Any of them do. Yep, we do. We have the best lunch ladies. And you'll see why. Let me get out of here. Oh, wait, nope, I gotta see who won. Foodie got third, Team Ed got second. Woo-hoo!
The question mark in the back.
Right? All right,
I didn't even place, guys, so don't.
it's okay. Let's see.
I wash my hands.
All right, so this is just a quick little few slides about my program. I am so happy to be here. It's been my favorite district. I've been at Lake Washington, I've been at Mukilteo, and I've been at Central Kitsap. And this has by far been my most favorite. I think the admin are so good to us. And the parents are great, the kids are wonderful. I love the program here. And so when I came in, I wanted to kind of change it up because I have a degree in baking. So I was a pastry chef, cake artist, like Cake Boss stuff. I did that kind of stuff. And a commercial baker. So I wanted to bring back some more scratch cooking because with the USDA regulations, they're really lowering our stuff. Like our sodium's at 1,200, they're gonna get it down to 800, which having packaged food, it really makes it hard. So we're trying to go more scratch cooking. So let's see, how do we do this? Oh, here we go. So current challenges for me is supplies, food supplies, packaging, USDA restrictions, which of course I have to follow them, but I have to go around, not go around them, but work with them. And food cost is really high. If you guys think grocery store shopping is high, try having my budget. Celebrations, we've served over 26,000 more meals to date this year than we did the previous year. We offer a variety of fresh fruits and vegetables because some of these kids aren't exposed to it, so I give them plums, tangerines, strawberries, melons, all sorts of different flavors and a variety of textures. We've increased our scratch cooking and employee morale and retention. Like I said, I've got one since 1996. So far to date, this was back in last month, so we're at over 300,000 meals we've served this year. And by the end of the school year, I think we'll probably be, I don't know, at least 34,000 more meals. These are some menu items I got with my commodity dollars, because we get commodity dollars, our entitlement, and this is what I got some. So I got the Barbacoa Street Tacos, Szechuan Spicy Chicken, Orange Chicken Bowl we have, Philly Cheesesteak, Buffalo Wrap, Barbecued Pulled Pork, Cowboy Stews actually was my own personal recipe I brought in, Hot Honey Beef Nachos, Chicken Fried Steaks. Here's some of my girls. And it's not easy, like up there in the left, that's Michelle, and she's out, we have to go out and serve breakfast outside throughout rain, snow, wind, at the elementaries, just because that's how it works for them. So they work really hard. Let's see, and one more. And there they are. The one up in the top right, I can't show you. She's got the black apron on. She's been the one that's been here since 1996, and she's really taken me in, and we've been such a good team because she knows what the kids like here. I'm bringing some aspects of what I know, but she's also, we've kind of incorporated them. So that's all I got. Hope you like his samples. Did you like the game?
Yes, thank you.
It's fun, isn't it?
Yeah.
So do you have any questions? I don't know what I'm supposed to do now.
What are the samples for? Sorry.
The barbacoa beef is something we're gonna be doing next year. So there's some cojita cheese. And it's a cinnamon roll, kind of cinnamon roll French toast. That we serve, yeah, it's scratch.
If anybody doesn't want any of theirs, I'll make sure.
Well, I think those two right there, I put them out for them, but they're not here. So, any questions from the audience? Whoops, sorry.
You do have great staff. I remember the staff at Belfair, and they are always, smiling faces for those kids who sometimes don't see a smile at home. And so that's really, really special. Like you said, they know the kids, they know their likes, their dislikes, and that's really important. And I don't know if you were here during the pandemic, but the staff here, the child nutrition staff here, did an amazing job getting the kids and the families in our community fed. I mean, it was just a Herculean task, and it was amazing. So
I was actually up at Central Kitsap doing that. So I remember feeding thousands of families every day, and we didn't care. We said, take what you need.
Yeah.
Take what you need. And we worked through the summer. We worked all year round until we kind of came back to school. So, yeah, it was a rough time for us, but, lunch ladies are tough. You should try managing them. Lots of personalities.
I did have,
Made us feel kind of normal was being able to pull up to the back door and pick up our bags of food, just
Yep.
get out of the house and do that. And then Michelle up in, she was at Sand Hill, she's still up at Sand Hill?
Walker? Yeah,
Yeah.
Michelle Walker.
Yeah,
She's
she
awesome.
was always really good with Mason, and Mason is, he's got some sensory things for food, and she was always on top of it for him, so, yeah. Very cool.
I was just gonna ask, do you feel like the students are noticing some of the changes you've implemented?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah. Have you
Absolutely. We hear a lot, oh, I really like this. Well, you can tell by the numbers.
Yeah,
30,000 more meals than last year to date. So that's a lot of meals.
yeah,
And at the high school, if we hit 270 at lunch, it was a good day. We're hitting almost 400 now,
yeah.
every day.
And just from my standpoint, I'm there, my wife's a third grade teacher and sometimes I'm there, but she loves the fact that they either choose the fruit or the vegetable, like they need to see it, they need to get used to it, eventually they will partake, so thank you for pushing that.
Oh, well, I'm telling you, we still have to remind the high schoolers because they think they're older and they don't need it. It's like, go get one. We got moms on the team, so.
Make them do like they eat it and then they have to play like a game for it. And then sweet and they're gonna
Right? Well,
eat another vegetable.
thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Alright, so we are on to superintendent.
We are, and before we get to the budget status report and everything, we have a very special presentation tonight. We're going to hear from our Student Support Services team from Amber and her team, and we're so excited. And so come on up, guys. And speaking people who have been here a really long time.
And I'm normally on time, but I did not get my report to you, so Jackie hopefully got it all to you. Chantel Wisner is here with me, and she is our resident compliance secretary and our historian, and 1999 is, so who should be the director and knower of all things of our title continues to change, inclusive ed, special services, all of that. So our office is Office of Inclusive Education. This is my first year in this role and second year up at the district office. And so we have been watching board reports throughout the year, and we've been coming in and doing different types of reporting, but we wanted to come in and highlight through an inclusive education lens and really highlight the special needs department and the students that have special needs and our staff that serve them and how they are doing with academics, discipline, behavior, all of those different areas, and pull out their data and evidence and how the staff is supporting them throughout this year, and how that looks and what we're charged forward with, and our tasks that we have on hand as we continue trying to support them the best that we can with the resources that we have always. So we will try to use the clicker so we're not just telling Jackie next. Felt it was important to ask Chantel to come because she is who we all go to and say, Chantel, remember, and she does save everything that she has. We'll ask a question and she'll go, oh, I have that. Or I will spend hours or days on a project and she'll go, oh, look what I have here, Amber. And I go, I should have known that. I should have not even looked and went to our resources. So want to highlight just the special education department because we do have inclusive ed, which is really just serving all students. But this will be what our focus is. So we want to kind of talk about what is inclusive education. The term and definition can change throughout time, and depending on different people and their lens, it can change as well. So really it's defining it, putting parameters around it, and building a mindset with what does inclusive education mean is really important. So when we're saying it, we have a model to match as well. We're going to look at who our team is that serves students. In your packets, we have a list of acronyms and definitions. So we're not going to go through every single slide, but I feel like it's important in every single office and area of education and every role. I believe that we work off of acronyms and different definitions. So wanted to provide that to you as a resource. Chantel's going to go over the history of special education and what she has experienced, and a part of what she's very prideful of and has done for here at North Mason and continues to do to help our teachers specifically. And then go through barriers in progress, how words matter, and some data, which again, it's very busy on the slides. I'll touch on it, and then what we're charged with and where we're moving forward. I was at our directors meeting at the ESD on Friday, and this was timely. I did not realize that it has been over 80 years worth of research that they have been working on how important inclusive practices are in education. And so these are 7 different resources that show how important placing students with their gen ed peers serves our students with disabilities and gets them access to like typical peers, and it is better for all of our students, including those without disabilities. So I just thought it was important that the work continues, looking for data to support that. But really it is defining it and making sure we're not just saying that we're doing it, that we're measuring the effectiveness of it and continuing to grow our practices. So what is that inclusion? I love this image right here. So there's 4 terms up there: exclusion, integration, inclusion, and segregation. So that we can talk about that not just with students with special needs. We can talk about that in many different parts of our history. So if you look at those 4 images there, like you just take a minute and see where would you put those 4 words with those 4 images? And what would you say is inclusion in that? Which image, A, B, C, or D, would be inclusion? Anybody care to guess on that one?
C.
I'm saying C.
Oh, I went down this way.
What about integration?
Probably B.
B.
Probably B.
I went C.
I kind of would go back and forth between the two. Once we did this activity, I was like, ugh. Now I'm confused, because we can go and do learning walks in classrooms right now, and we kind of see a little bit of B and C. Sometimes we're looking at our ML students, multi-learners, and go, all right, they're in the class, but they're at a separate table. Sometimes we can see that with our students with special needs. They're in the class, but they're all grouped together because they may have a paraeducator or working on a similar task. So the correct answer is actually C. They're in there. Shelley Moore, 5 minutes more with Shelley Moore is a good TED Talk and online resource, but she does great little 5-minute clips. But she said, what if we take it and challenge your thinking to go, take out the green. Why do we have a quote-unquote normal versus including other students into a classroom? And we need to stretch and celebrate teaching to diversity and plan for all students in our classroom, rather than planning for how are we integrating other students into a regular environment. So I just love those slides there, how we need to start challenging our thinking that we plan for all students, not for a different strength, a deficit-based students of how do we include them. So start going to teach diversity. Removing the barriers, collaboration, access to all supports, not requiring students to have a label or a title to have those supports, if we can have them available to all of our students. Providing professional development to our staff, knowing how to support all students. Recruiting, hiring, and retaining our staff, saying that this is what we do here, this is how we serve students. Family partnerships, because they need to understand what inclusion is and why, when done correctly, it's best for our students. So defining it clearly and having a belief. This is just one slide. If we talk about students in our district that have special needs and have individual education plans. This is just our North Mason staff that serve those students. So felt it was really important to identify all of the adults here at North Mason, just for our students with IEPs, that it takes on a daily basis to wake up every day and come in and serve our students with IEPs. Some of them are from our ESD service district, our nursing staff. Some of them are contracted, some are remote. We have students that go to Kids Up mental health programs at Madrona. We bus some students to Tacoma School District for the School for the Deaf and Blind programs, deaf and hard of hearing. But all on that page, it takes a lot. And Chantel keeps them all trained and compliant, and keeps everybody ensured that we are doing everything that is legally right and compliant for all of our students. Every new person that comes into our program that is hired in goes through training with Chantel to ensure that they are following all of the steps. She's super gracious. Just being in the building, I remembered always a friendly voice on the other line with any questions that we have, that she's a resource to them. So just thought it was really important to highlight everybody that takes. And then, of course, that is just the direct adults. That's not including the families and their outside resources as well. Building administrators are not up there, all of the staff within the buildings, but these are just staff hired by a special education department to serve the students. There's our acronyms and definitions. We're not going to go into all of those, but if you need to resource them, if we start speaking in acronyms there. I think that our teams have been talking about UDL for a couple of years now, the Universally Designed Learning. This is how all classrooms are moving. We need to design our learning for all students. It's removing the barriers. So this is something that we should get out to the public often. We have menus at a restaurant. We don't just serve one meal when people come in. That's universally designed meals. So what fair is not always equal. I always love this image. I feel like our job is to go to that last image there, remove the fence, get the kids on the playing field. That's what we need to be doing. So we're not just watching the game. How do we get them out there and get them to be part of the game? So this is just what I feel is, how do we show that fair is not always equal? If we said that everybody had to have the same thing, not everybody can play or see. Oh, Chris. Clicker's broken.
It was going so well.
Oh, man. Next, please, Jackie. All right. Can you read that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I got my sheet. I put my glasses on. So again, my name is Chantel. I'm the compliance specialist here, and I've been here for, this is my 25th year. Thank you. I'm proud of that. I started about the time that special ed was changing. I had not known anything about special ed before I started. I went to school in a high school that didn't really have special ed kids involved in our school, so it was a big difference for me. And so one of the things that I wanted to know when I came into the department was, what is special ed, how did it start, and why? And so I think a lot of times we forget about that, even though we're coming close to our 50th year of special ed in public schools, that really isn't that long ago. And so I like to highlight that, and I like to talk about that with new staff coming in, because their jobs are hard, and because of them, we have the opportunity to have special needs students getting an education in public schools. And so we're grateful for them. So this shows a little bit that only, in 1975 sounds like a long time ago, but only 1 in 5 students was invited to come and be a part of public schools when they had special needs. And it was a big movement for a lot of different groups that brought that forth. And so, I'm dating myself here, but it was Gerald Ford, President Gerald Ford, that actually signed the EHA, Education for All Handicapped Children Act, and it was monumental. And so students were able to come in. In 1990, IDEA, which was most people are familiar with, came into being, and it defined what FAPE meant. And what I always say to our teams is that FAPE means appropriate. That's the most important word in FAPE, free and appropriate public education. And so we always try to keep in mind that our students need to be educated appropriately for them, and that it gave them rights. And the focus was on interventions, and that you could be educated in your neighborhood school, because a lot of times in the early years, those kids were shipped off. And so we wanted to make some of those connections that, that wasn't that long ago, 1990. I started, 9 years after that came in. So I came in between some big hurricanes in special ed, and the next hurricane that came was 2004, where they reauthorized the special ed laws. And that was immensely difficult for, it was a nationwide federal mandate, and each state had to look at how they were going to take those laws and define them. It took most states a decade or more to define them. Washington did a pretty good job. And what it really was, the push was No Child Left Behind was the driving force. And so they had to define then what is an IEP, and that's where they started to say it needs to be research-based, it needs to be peer-reviewed research-based, and not just, guessing. And so one of the big things that came out of the reauthorization in 2004 is Washington State and most states defined that you needed to have model defined forms. So when I came in, and I was just telling someone this week, we were using triplicate mimeographed IEP forms. And so one copy got torn off to the parent, one copy got torn off to the office, and one copy got stored with the teacher. And they were handwriting those with pen and paper. And I was actually hired to come in and be the psychologist assistant because they were trying to figure out how to use this new thing called Microsoft Word. And how were they going to do their evaluations on Microsoft Word when they didn't even want to touch the machine? So I know it was a big jump for us as a district. So one of the things that we did to help ourselves and to learn more about the process for the whole state is we joined a consortium quite early on. And when we didn't want to make our own forms, obviously. The state has stayed out of the game of defining forms for us. They've never wanted to go there. So we were on our own. And so for 2 years, I was sent out to look at products with a consortium. It's regional, so it's based out of ESD 114 loosely, but in the beginning, we actually joined forces with ESD 121. And so we had the advantage of being a middle-sized school district, but working alongside this consortium with, very large districts. And together, in 2004, we built from scratch a product for our consortium, and it was called GoalView. And what we liked about it was that the product was able to be made by us, for us, what we needed, why, how, and the company was willing to work with us and do that. So North Kitsap and Central Kitsap and almost all of our neighbors, the only holdout was South Kitsap, and they're still a holdout to this day, although they call me frequently and ask me about our product. Most of the other districts in our state went with IEP Online. And one of the things I like to say is that we decided that it wasn't the superior product, and so we went with the superior product that had the best customer service, and we had that product for 13 years until they just dissolved. They were actually bought out by IEP Online, and we chose not to go with them because it just wasn't the product. So we formed a new consortium in 2018, and same group basically. And again, we built a product with a company, and we built a product called Embrace. Embrace is nationwide product, and we have 42 Washington districts that are part of the consortium, and we meet. In the beginning, when we're building it, we can meet up to once a week, and now we're a once a month consortium. So with that, each district brings their thoughts, ideas, their lawsuits, and we talk about how we can make things better. I'm really proud to say that we're a big part of that consortium. We have a lot of say, and we have a lot of involvement because we go and we show up. And so we come to them and we say, listen, we had an IEP teacher today say she thinks this could be better here if we did this. And everyone has a discussion. We have to get an agreement. And one of the examples I like to talk about recently is we were just suffering with the 504 evaluation that we currently have. It was kind of an off-the-shelf product. We were seeing a lot of mistakes in the same place. And that's where I come in. So I try to get data and where's the mistakes always happening, and can we make this better, and can we do something about it? And so North Mason took the lead. We built a mock-up. We talked to our people and said, how can we make this better? What can we do to enhance this for you? And really what it came down to was we needed to take away a lot of the fluff of the eval. It was just, it dissuade them from what they needed to do. And so we actually started a vote campaign. We made calls because if you get a majority vote with this company, they'll give it to you for free. And we wanted it for free. So we had Amber calling her friends and neighbors, and I was calling other compliance specialists in the area, and we got it by one vote. So we got it for free.
Nice.
And so our 504 teams in the fall will have a new evaluation that's easier for them to use, and we'll be more in compliant. So that will be good for parents and students and everybody involved. In 2022, 23, 66% of U.S. students with disabilities were in their gen ed class 80% of the day. And so that's where everybody nationwide is trying to come. We're trying to build up that so that inclusion model is working for special ed. 440,000 infants and toddlers are being served in the U.S., which is a big difference. And what I've seen over the years is that early childhood is getting more attention, and they know the data behind that is solid now. And so that more is better. And we work with Holly Ridge. We have in North Mason School District, I tell this to people all the time, they look at me funny. We have kids that we serve who are 0 to 2 years old. And right now we have up to this month 44 kids in our community that were babies that were served through our district. And so don't forget that, because that's a big group of kids that are served. We see a lot of graduates from Holly Ridge. They just needed that little boost. They needed to pick up some speech language skills perhaps, or so we work closely. I meet with Holly Ridge once a month, if not more. We're talking to them all the time about our babies. So we know that if they're coming our way, we get ready for them. There's a very strict law that says if they continue to qualify for our programs, that needs to happen by their 3rd birthday, no exceptions to the rule. So we're building spreadsheets, watching those babies their whole career at Holly Ridge, and making sure that we're ready for them when they come as 3-year-olds to preschool. We have their IEP ready. Usually, we don't want to bother them on their birthday, so we usually have it ready before their birthday, and then it begins after their birthday, their 3rd birthday.
Sometimes all we have is their birthday date. That's
Yeah.
the only identifier we get.
Wow.
So we watch that pretty carefully, and we communicate about those. And there's electronic systems that we share to watch. They have IFSPs. It's family-based, home-based services. So we look at what services are they getting currently, and how is that going to look when they qualify for preschool. So we watch them. And I just think people forget that we have babies in our school district, so I like to point that out. This last month, we counted 363 kids with IEPs. That number pretty much stays close to that, the 25 years I've been counting special ed kids. I think my first year of counting special ed kids, it was near 100. It had some years gone up to 400s, 450s. So it has fluctuated, but I would say in the last 10 years, that's probably our average. And I think that has a lot to do with inclusion and those practices. We have 70% of our North Mason special ed students spend 80% of their day in gen ed, and that's a big difference. That's probably one of the biggest difference in my 25-year career. So, you know, it's working. Inclusion is working, and the trainings and the professional developments and the reason why kids need to be in class. The study and the data is solid. We know that they need their peers, and so we sometimes have to go up against obstacles, we'll call them obstacles, to make sure people remember that the data is really clear on that, and has been for decades. We currently have 37 students that we're serving in developmental preschool, transitional kindergarten, and Head Start with IEPs, and the total is 70. We have 70 kids because some of our transitional kindergartners are not special ed, but they're being served at Mary Thaler. And then, like I said, we have the 44 students who are coming in from the Holly Ridge program. I think that I have worked with 5 superintendents, 26 psychologists, I count them up because, 3 different directors.
Actually 4.
And countless resource teachers and therapists. I'm most proud to be on a first name basis with a lot of our families. I'm on 3rd generations for some of our families. They know me by my first name. I'm like Cher. And I know them, and I know their families, and I love getting their calls. That I always feel that, you know, they know that we're care, and they know that we're going to be listening, and a lot of times that's just all it takes is listening. So we've had barriers and progress throughout the years, but the big key would be that next year will be the 50th year of special ed in public schools, and I think that, you know, there's a lot of data to show how supportive and change that's been. So, yeah.
Like I said, wealth of knowledge, and we could not do what we do without Chantel. We do have families that just call and ask to speak with her, and we have families that we see calling and we say, they're gonna speak with her. Because she does have that generational relationship with the families, and they trust her. She knows the ins and outs of the family and just really can connect with them. Staff too. as any program, it's just constant change in regulation, funding, staffing, mindsets, all of those. The hard to fill roles is quite a barrier. We're doing a lot of contracting for a lot of roles. We've had special education teacher position open for, I mean, we're going on a couple months right now. We've got one candidate. I mean, it's not, we went to a job fair. There's not a lot of people out there looking to do the job. It is really challenging. That we have a lot of extreme behaviors coming into schools, and that is not just with students with IEPs or with special needs. It is just a different environment than what we're experiencing. But students are behaving in a manner because they need their needs met. And we need to find special people that are passionate about helping children get those needs met in a way that is safe and healthy and gets them access appropriately. So it's, you know, we've got contractors calling constantly. They say, have they looked at a map? Do they know where Belfair is? Make sure that they do that first because they want to do teleservices. And we need people face-to-face in serving our kids. So it's just a lot of challenges and barriers out there. And then when we contract, you know, that's definitely much more, not as cost-effective for our district. So we're recruiting people that are passionate about what they do to match the people that are already waking up and doing the job as well. We're continuing to progress forward in developing a vision of what does inclusive education mean in our district. Trying to regularly meet with our team, bring in professional development, and make sure that inclusive ed is part of our MTSS structure throughout the district. The state did approve a budgetary increase to increase our cap to 16%, which does help. They also do continue to add regulations on what we have to use that funding for. So it's, you know, it's a catch-22 because everything does increase, but we appreciate any extra budgetary support that we can get because we need to ensure that we serve our students to the best of our abilities. We need to continue to speak and maintain hope and belief in the success of our students and our staff. Everybody that comes to school is working really, really hard. Just some overall LRE data. In 2018, Washington was ranked the lowest 10 in the US of the least restrictive environment of our students, of putting our students in with their gen ed peers. While North Mason was higher of the state average, we still had a lot of way to go. LRE 1 means 80% or more of their time is in their gen ed classroom, and LRE 3 is 30% or less of their time is in their gen ed classroom. So we always are looking to keep that LRE 1 or 2, but whatever is most appropriate where the student is progressing. I'll see if my clicker works. But, I pulled in a lot of data, just what is reported to OSPI, state report card, to pull in indicators of students with disabilities versus students without disabilities on there. This is our state testing and WAAIMS, which only 1% of our population should be taking WAAIMS. That is our alternate assessments to the state Smarter Balance testing. And I'm going to breeze through the data because it is a lot to look through unless you have specific questions on it. I wanted to show where NMSD and Washington State compare on these. We are not as far off from Washington State, which is really good, although they're not necessarily the scores that we want them to be either here in North Mason or Washington State, I'm sure. Go ahead. This one is attendance for elementary. If you notice Sand Hill, they're almost equal. All of the students that are attending, very high attendance rate of students attending 80% or more, although our goal for the buildings are 90% of the attendance, not missing more than 2 days a month. But if you notice, the students with IEPs are also matching that goal very well. Belfair Elementary is not a huge gap, but working on that as well. And then ODRs, majors and versus minors, there in our tiered system. So a good tiered system of discipline It's pretty typical for students to have 0 to 2 office discipline referrals. A healthy one would be 80% in that tier 1, 15% in tier 2, and 5% in tier 3. That would be a healthy pyramid there. So our elementary buildings are doing pretty well. That indicator there, so if you look at Sand Hill, 12 students out of the 74, I believe, have IEPs in that tier 1 category. So there's not a large disproportionality of students with IEPs receiving discipline of major and minors there at the elementaries. Next slide is their academics, and that is our at-risk growth. These aren't as exciting as we hope them to be, but this is students' at-risk growth rate from fall to winter, the rate of growth that they're making, and then those indicated at risk after that benchmark. Students with IEPs are in some areas at higher risk in their growth levels. So that's where we kind of talk about the least restrictive environment. While they are in the classroom, are they also getting their needs met? How are we serving them in their gen ed classrooms? But that question continues with all of our students. We're continuing to match that. Hawkins attendance data looks awesome. All students attending, and then those students with IEPs are just far surpassing, coming to school all the time. Always there. Now their discipline, just overall, their pyramid is a little more rectangular than we'd like, but we're working on those systems with Hawkins. But it is not disproportionate for our students with IEPs there. So it is just a, middle school. It is developmentally appropriate for them to challenge the system. We'd question if they didn't, right? And this is our high school data. Chris does a really great job of giving this report to the high school every month, but this is on our trimester 2 report cards. So he does pull out students with 504s and students with IEPs and how well they are meeting our indicators. So our students, we measure 9th grade on track, attendance, 4-year graduation, students with IEPs having at least 1 F, and then having failing a core course, which is one of our goals as a district, to not have 9th graders failing a core course. We definitely want to see this number decrease. And we definitely at trimester 3 want those numbers to decrease as well. But these were reported on the report card trimester 2. So continued work with our case managers at the high school, but also these are students that are in their gen ed classes. And, they do have modified grading criteria. So what does that look like in their other courses? And how can we help serve them better? All right. This is kind of a pet peeve of mine, I suppose, and it's something that in my role here at the district office, and then even just learning more about special education, is work with and be around people that kind of call you on your verbiage, and it matters. So, we have to change the way we speak to each other and about each other. So if somebody's talking about these kids or those kids, not even just kids with IEPs, if we're calling them SPED kids or tier 2 or 3 kids, if we say they can't, don't, or won't, if they're limited, if they're high or low performing, if they're high functioning or low functioning, if we're speaking about them in a deficit, we need to work on that. If we call them our low babies or our high babies, how do we help each other speak differently about our students? We probably don't talk about our friends that way. I know our teachers wouldn't appreciate it if we spoke about them in that way. And I know that they're not doing it the adults that are speaking about children are not doing it in a harmful, demeaning way either. But the way we speak does relay in the way we treat. So the other column is we need to continue to reiterate they are our kids. We do not send them somewhere to get fixed. So we all work with them. People are not their disabilities, so it's just a habit. We call them SPED kids all the time, kids with IEPs, all of that. People are not their disabilities. Tiers are supports, not students. We call them Tier 2 kids often. Tiers are supports. When it comes between skill and will, choose will every time. Chris said this during a safety care class with students, they just choose not to do that. No, we need to help them get the skills they need. Always choose skill. I typed that in wrong, didn't I? That goes to the other column. Choose skill every time, and we help them get those skills. Nobody caught it every day. I've done it. So asset-based thinking and planning. We base on what they can do and build from there, not on what they can't. We can look at a lesson plan and identify very quickly why kids could not do it, and we need to reverse that. So change the adult behaviors, thinking, and environment to set the students up for success. But find people that are going to check you and challenge you on your thinking, and then you're surrounded by those that are going to help kids as well. So goals that we have working with our teams is a comprehensive preschool through 12th grade plus program, because we do have our 18 to 21-year-old transition, adulting in the community program. Eliminating exclusive practices and programs. We currently, our developmental preschool is a self-contained classroom. How can we grow that to be a mixed group to where it is not self-contained? Train up and increase our full staff capacity to serve all students. When we hire our gen ed teachers, are we asking them questions about inclusive practices and how they're going to serve our students with IEPs? Increasing the LRU while ensuring we're increasing achievement, and high expectations for all with high support. Students, staff, families, stakeholders, everybody. And then our last slide just goes back to those adults that are choosing to come here every day. And we can't always continue to look about who we can bring on board. We need to continue to focus and invest in the people that are choosing to come in here every day and serve our kids. And so I think our last slide is our staff that are constantly here. And I probably didn't send it to you. So it's just, often we're looking at who can we bring on board and what other supports can we do, but we have to just invest in our people.
And I'd like to say that in my career here, we have people who drive very long distances to come to North Mason because of the way that we work and the way that we have our systems. They appreciate that, and so we appreciate them always, and I think it does make a difference in recruitment.
Yeah. So I know that was a lot of information, but we do a lot, and our staff does a lot. So thank you for taking the time. Do you have questions for us about?
I know you were looking at me.
What?
I always have questions. Leah, did
Yes.
you have?
Well, I was noticing, of course, we got the paper, and we get to see a lot of things on data on paper, and it's kind of the cold side of it, but you guys give a very warm presentation, even though it's just a lot of information all at once. You can tell where it's coming from, right there in your core. And both of you, I know, with my kid and personally and things throughout the years, and I know how much caring and work you put into it, and giving us a warm data. I wrote down report equals warm data. So I remembered, but it was very good to get the love side of it. So thank you for that.
Do we have data on James Taylor and Homelink? You broke down the other buildings.
I pulled it and I did not add it in there.
Okay.
I had Mary Feller, I had Academic Hawkins and Mary Feller to add in. We don't pull a lot of Feller right now because we have our WA kids, which shows that they are doing really well. Our transition to kinder program, OSPI highlighted our transition to kinder program. They're coming in 70% ready for kinder, higher than we've ever seen before. One thing we found out Friday at the directors meeting is that our the WA kids results that they published, they accidentally included our transition to kinder kids in there, and they meant to disaggregate them. They're gonna go and pull them out, and I'm like, no, we're fine with that, because if they're part of the program, our numbers were good. But we wanna show that they're doing really well. What I had pulled for James Taylor wasn't so much academic data, other than they would fall in the 5th and even sometimes 6th year graduation rate, which is awesome, because we would much rather that than dropping out, right? We want them continuing past the 4 years. 29 of the students down there at James Taylor are ML students, and there's 191 served in the whole program. 26 of them have IEPs, and then 96 of them, so over half of the population, have free and reduced lunch. And then I was pulling them, and I actually pulled like the high major discipline rates, and I pulled from them being the last 6 years, and 75% of the students had very high major discipline rates in there. So those were the things, and then over 70% of the students had met the criteria, not necessarily gone through the process for truancy. Chris and Lexi have gone through a lot of the systems to really ensure that the supports have gone into place, and kids are being the importance and value of learning is there, that it's not just a push them through, get them through so that they meet the criteria, but when they graduate from there, that it is with academic rigor and they're getting life skills that they need. So I didn't pull as detailed as what I had put up there. And then Hawkins, I did pull some other academic data. I had about 3 in the morning, decided that was enough. But I can pull more if you're seeking more.
Is it in the report card? 'Cause I can.
No, I was pulling it from like our FastBridge data and our other measurements, but I'm trying to remember if it is in the report card. It is in the report card as well. Yeah. There was, it's not on OSPI?
Not for a second trimester, we don't do it that way, so we're at the end of the year.
The OSPI state report card? Is that criteria from last year?
Oh, yeah, that's.
Yeah, that's it.
Anecdotally, how do our families feel about like IEP meetings? Because sometimes you hear about in some districts, they're contentious, or they don't feel supported, or they don't feel heard. What are you hearing?
Well, I think it's something that new families, that's our job, that's our charge, especially I try to tell like Feller, our early learning program, and our kinder first families, newly identified, like it is your job to help the families learn how their rights, how this is really supposed to do, identify like this is sensitive, and really invest the time. I think prior to those meetings, we kind of know if they're going to be contentious or not. So we have to make sure that we are prepping the teams. Chantel does a training with all of our staff at the beginning of the year. This is the proper way how IEP meetings are supposed to be ran. We are always short on time. And the meetings to have them before or after school it's just never enough time. So we have to ensure that we allow enough time.
Yeah, with the laws, we have certain people that have to be there, and one of them is administrators, which is, difficult because they have so many needs throughout their whole building to serve. And so it is hard, but we have parents who would request additional time, and they're always granted that for sure. We have, families that have been with us. We have, families that may have difficulties with special ed based on their own experiences. and maybe not here in North Mason, but in a district they were in. And so we always find that, you know, they may have more stress about the meeting. And so it's always, you know, I feel like our IEP teams are really in tune to that. We have families that do choice enrollment requests here because they feel more comfortable with an IEP here than they do in neighboring districts.
And that was gonna be my follow-up question, like how do our transition process for kids choicing in with an IEP, do our staff feel supported in that? Do we hear that students and families feel support, you know, when they come in and already have an IEP, as well as from building to building as they progress through our
The
district?
cool part about our online program, and the reason that it was such a big push for us to get up and running as quickly as we could, is that we can transfer records between each other with these online programs. So that's really so beneficial, and that's why we went into a consortium as a region, because within few minutes, we will have all those records, which is so great for that student. There are state laws that say you have X amount of days to get those records and get that kid up and running. And we can do it way ahead of that because of the electronic process. So, and then like I said, with the babies, we're watching them all the time, and they're communicating with us through paperwork. You know, here's their needs, and here's what we think they will need when they get to you. So I think it's going well overall with transfers, and you know, with our neighbors, Greatview, Pioneer, you know, there's a lot of them that will choose to come this way for high school because they feel more comfortable with our IEP teams. So I've always told the teams to be proud of that. Mm-hmm.
And I will say that from me, when I went to school and having ADD and going through that whole thing, when my daughter went through the same part, and both of you, I think, were sitting on Zoom when we did it, I had a lot of hesitation towards it because of my experience, and you guys made that so much easier with her, and it's followed her through and helped her out all the way through up into middle school. So I've personally seen this in action, and it's really awesome.
Yeah. We have really good teams working hard, and I think that we have to educate. Like, it is hard to, it takes a lot of work to let families know it is different too. And I try to really support our teachers to say, you know, sometimes we're not gonna agree with the parents, and doctors know we don't have to follow it, and we're not always gonna come to an agreement, but we have to understand that the kid is our focus and what's
Sure
best
that-
for the kid.
I'm sure the parent challenge, it's a whole separate challenge. And probably the most important to get down to all the information and everything. I'm really glad that you guys are.
There's so many challenges to parents. Right now, there's a 2-year waiting list to get an autistic diagnosis in
Oh
our
my
region,
goodness, yeah.
which is, you know,
Not acceptable.
not acceptable.
No, I was gonna say
And
that's-
so as educators, we're looking at how can we give a kid a disability. We don't have to have a diagnosis of autism, but we can give them a disability because we know we have the data and it's there.
Is that just in our state?
It is nationwide.
Yeah.
Nationwide. There's just not enough doctors. And you know, we're military based, and so we're one of the high 5 areas. So we have military families that when their students are diagnosed or in the process of being diagnosed, they would get stationed in this area because there's only 5 in the nation that can happen with for them.
And then they can homestead. So if you have a child with high needs, you can stay in that duty station for the bulk, if not all of your career without the negative impacts that you usually have not transferring every 2 or 3 years to a new location. So it's better for families. But it also puts more stress on the school system. So in Washington, that's the JBLM up through Everett, Bremerton kind of area.
Yeah. So we, currently, this year, our psychologists are working on, giving kids disabilities, which is different than a diagnosis of autistic. And now the doctors are asking us to send them the data. So that shortens the time span. So I feel like that's a really big benefit for those families.
Do we have subs that are perhaps earmarked to serve in classrooms or these specific para roles? Are they receiving training? So you mentioned like staff at the beginning of the year. Do we have subs receiving that training?
No, we don't, because that would be great if we had an abundance to be able to bring in our
Right,
subs.
I know there's a shortage
Yeah.
of subs
Mhm.
across.
Our district, our HR department has done an amazing job this year of keeping us full of subs. But we don't have the capacity to get a lot of training to them.
I mean, we train on, we try to train paraeducators and they will, the HR is really good about saying, hey, we've got these 6 substitute paraeducators, can they come to your training too? And absolutely, you know, that makes sense to us. So they do, we have had some sit in on that.
Then people call the ones that are most familiar to them for sure. Yeah.
So I just, go ahead.
The intersectionality of, so you pulled up the data from, I think it was OSPI, with the different programs. Are we looking at a student that has an IEP and possibly falls into another category? So a multi-language learner or foster care and do we tweak, I'm assuming we tweak the MTSS approach with those students?
Right now, like in our elementary schools, the way that a lot of our students are served is in their win time, what I need. So we look at kind of overall for math, what is their highest need, and because we don't pull like out, the teams get together and look at a database as far as what is the services that they need in their tiered systems. So we wouldn't pull our ML students out differently than our LAP kids or our free and reduced lunch. But kids with IEPs, that's when they're receiving their services in that area. But the team talks together, and if they need language acquisition, what are skills that can also be happening during that time, or when can that be happening during the core instruction? So they're kind of looking at the whole child again, and when can all of those different supports be brought in at different times. But we do have a lot of our students that do qualify or are categorized in multiple different need areas. The OSPI report card there where it had a lot of the categorization, that I don't know if students counted in multiple areas there. The other report that I pulled, I was only pulling students that were identified as IEP, but I'm sure if I'd put 2 different indicators, they probably would have fallen into multiple categories. I was just pulling out if they had an IEP indicator in that area.
And the state watches all of that, so they watch how many Hispanic kids do you have at IEPs, and is that too disproportionate? And they let us know about that. It's called indicators, and there's 14, I think, 17 indicators that they watch, and it's watching all of those combinations.
Because they'll let us know.
How many times did they get disciplined if they're IEP? How many times? So they're watching those things for us, and they let us know. Yeah.
A lot of times the kids don't leave the office before Chantel lets us know. She's good with it.
Well, and that's what I wanted to highlight. I'm so glad we have an amazing group of staff serving kids with all kinds of needs across our district. But one of the most important ones is Chantel. So I'm really glad that she was here tonight. And I get to make you blush, but Chantel is the backbone of this department. And it's a role that most districts don't have. In many districts, the work that Chantel does is just more work that the teachers that serve kids in the special education departments do. And we're really fortunate to have a specialist who has the experience and looks at all of that data and all of that student information and makes sure our teachers and our principals and our building staff don't get so busy that they miss a date or they forget to cross the T or dot an I. And we can't say enough how lucky we are. So it's okay to embarrass you a little bit.
It's a great office, and everyone there is passionate. And I think the big thing is we do consider ourselves support staff. So those on the front line with the students, how can we make your lives easier? Because it just makes everything better for the students.
Is that 16% cap that the state raised the funding to? Is that, for a lot of districts, that's not enough, and they're having to use levy dollars? Is that
It was
something
at
where-
12.7 for almost
Yes.
always, which, wow. So
there
we're
was
like,
a sigh
yeah,
of relief.
we're celebrating that.
But for
was
some districts, there's still that gap.
Yes.
Or do you still
We're gonna have a gap. We're not much higher of students that we're serving, over 16%. We're pretty good in our numbers. Are we over budget? Yeah. Yeah, the funding doesn't match, because if you look at the direct services and all of that staff, the staff up there, that doesn't even scratch the surface of what it actually entails to actually provide the services. But the 16% is, they will fund up to 16% of your population of your students served. And so we're not.
But they didn't, yeah.
Identifying more than 16%, much more than 16% of our student population with IEPs.
But,
We're
and they
staying
didn't
within
change the
pretty good.
multiplier that went with that.
Right.
And so the multiplier is not keeping pace with inflation, so even though they're funding up to 16% at the old multiplier, it's still a less value dollar
Sure, right.
than it was to meet the needs of our students.
But we're doing, they almost try to make it sound like, oh, if you have more kids in LRE 1 and you're serving them 80% or more in your gen ed class, that you get more funding, because you do get an increase of funding for your kids more in that tier. It's not that much, though, because really, if they're not making growth and progress, it's not
Yeah.
worth it. So we could over-identify and change our IEPs, but it's not meeting the student need, so it's not worth that.
Yeah.
So we're right about 16% of our students being served with IEPs right now, even with a lot transferring in from out of areas to be served here at North Mason, because we don't turn students away.
And I mean, I appreciate, especially when you said earlier, Amber, about starting to, perhaps not starting, but training in UDL. Our staff receiving PD and UDL, because I think that was like the old way of teaching was you got your roster and you built like your lessons or even your classroom around the students that you have, as opposed to let's build a classroom or our lessons, the space around all students, and then who we get, it's all gonna be included in that. And so I really appreciate that, because there's a lot of students struggling with things or learning differently, and just because they don't have an IEP or a 504, it doesn't mean that we're not gonna fall short in meeting their needs. And so I appreciate you and your staff looking at that and saying, how can we be inclusive?
They're working really hard.
Yeah. And they love that tool. Teachers, our staff love it.
Makes sense.
Thank you guys for
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
putting what you do into this and treating it with so
Nice
much
work.
care.
Thank you.
Dan.
Drive safe, everybody out that's leaving. I want to say that at the very end too, so. And, all right, we are on to our budget status update.
Good evening, Board. I'm Dan King, the Assistant Superintendent of Finance and Operations. Glad to be here tonight to present the budget status report. And it looks like Jackie's ready to
there you
start
go.
with. Are we going to start with the budget status or the?
Whatever you want.
let's start with the budget status, and I'll follow that with a budget preparation slide deck that just shows some of the process that goes into preparing our budget for next fiscal year. So with the budget status report, we're looking at our budget through March 31st, and we'll begin with the other funds, starting with the capital projects funds. The fund balance at the end of March was $197,768, an increase of $72,945. The debt service fund balance was $1,004,414. ASB ended with a fund balance of $425,263. And the transportation vehicle fund ended with a fund balance of $340,878. Let's look at the attendance. This is our April attendance here. So our regular attendance was 2,253.66 students. That's down 12.25 students. But when you look at, since the previous month, but when you look at the average for the year, the average is 2,272.19. That's on the far right. I know those numbers are really small there. 2,272.19. The average is just down 3.09 students since the previous month. Our attendance, or I'm sorry, our enrollment for TTK on April 1st, or for the April count, was 31 students. So that's holding steady. And the total attendance with our TTK included is 2,284.66. So let's go on to our general fund for the budget status. Again, through March, starting with our general fund revenues, in the top left there, our total revenues actual percentage year-to-date was 53.86%. Our projection, we would have collected 56.98, so we're really close there. From local sources, our total revenues were at 52.24% compared to our projected year-to-date, which were at 51.74. So again, very close. From state sources, we were at 56.13%, and we projected 57.35. And from federal sources, we were at 37.22. We projected we'd be at 59.07. In the table below, you can see our largest source of revenue is our apportionment. So through March, we had collected $13,626,850 in general apportionment. And you can see the rest there. I want to move this forward though a little quicker so I can get to the presentation to follow. Here we show our budgeted general fund revenues for the year. We're at $42,395,487. Our projected revenues for the period of March 31st was $24,156,949, and our actual year-to-date revenues were $22,835,817. The next slide shows revenues by source, prior year-to-date versus current year-to-date, going back to 2020-21 school year on the far left of each set of bars. So you can just see a visual there, and there are figures on the side for comparison. But you can see how those revenues have increased at the state level each year. Local, that one that's down lower, 21-22, was because of the lower amount of levy dollars collected that year. And you can see the federal sources are changing. We do not have as much money coming into the ESSER grant that was one of our education stabilization grants through the pandemic. So we still have some ESSER dollars that we're have available to us this year that we're using, but it's a very small amount compared to the last 2 years, or the last 3 years, really. The next slide shows revenues by source, projected year-to-date versus current. So you can see the local sources staying the same because our levy collection is a set amount. Our state, a little bit lower this year than last in our federal, a little lower. And this is just to date. It doesn't mean, by the end of the year, we're going to see some changes here. And going on to the next slide, we're going to look at expenditures. So our projected year-end fund balance as a percent of our budgeted expenditures at the end of March was 7.04%. Our total expenditures actual year-to-date was 57.6%, and our projected year-to-date expenditures was 58.53%. For salaries and benefits, our actual expenditures were 56%. We projected we'd be at 57.22%, and for basic education, our actual expenditures were 54.35%, and we projected our year-to-date basic ed expenditures would be 59.3%. Our basic ed expenditures are our top expenditures at $11,282,228. And then you can see there the other amounts for our expenditures in the top 10. And let's go on to the next slide. This shows our overall budget. We had budgeted $42,495,683 for our fiscal year expenditures. Our projected year-to-date was $25,105,965, and our current year-to-date expenditures are lower than that at $24,478,106. On to the next slide. Here we're showing across 4 years again, going back to 2020-21 school year, our expenditures by object. So salaries for certificated and classified, and benefits, supplies, and purchase services as a comparison. And you can see that in each one of those objects, you've seen that increase pretty much, except for the benefits. There was actually a slight decrease in the cost for benefits for employees this fiscal year. Let's go on to the next slide. This shows expenditures by object, projected year-to-date versus current. And you can see our current year-to-date expenditures are slightly less than we projected for salaries, for both certificated and classified, for supplies, and for purchase services a little bit, somewhat higher than we had projected. A lot of that, the purchase services, a lot of those are towards some of our special education services that we contract out. Some of it is facilities, where we have purchase services for maintenance costs and things like that. And then the next slide shows our fund balance trend. So the solid blue line is the one that shows this current fiscal year. If you look at April, straight above that, you can see, look at March. So this is through March 31st. So $2,621,937. That was the fund balance in the general fund at the end of March. And then you can see going forward where it's projected to go next month. And then we see a little bit of some decreases the next couple months, and then ending the fiscal year at $3,019,161. That's based on the current data in our system. And the next slide gives a summary of our general fund revenues and expenditures in comparison to last year. You can see our current year-to-date revenues at $22,835,817. That's 53.86% of the $42,395,487 that we budgeted. With our expenditures, our year-to-date at the end of March, we were at $24,478,106, which was 57.60% of the $42,495,683 we budgeted. And at the bottom, at the very bottom, you can see our March fund balance at $2,622,937. So that concludes the general fund balance report. Are there any questions? Okay, so we're going to move on to, I have a brief presentation of our budget development process. So in the last few board meetings, I have mentioned year-end and the year-end process. And really, starting around August, we start working on our year-end reporting, which we submit by November, mid-November. And then really almost immediately after, we take a little breather and then come back in January and start working on the budget for the following fiscal year. And that budget really has three major phases of development. So January through March is the information gathering and planning phase. April, starting this month through June, it's creating and building the budget. And then July and August, we're receiving some feedback from different stakeholders and entities, making adjustments and getting board approval. So I'm going to go into each one of those phases. The information gathering and planning phase, this is an opportunity where school districts are providing input to the state legislature regarding school funding priorities. Different state organizations provide input as well as individuals and school districts. We're listening to from our legislatures and from the state to hear what is being approved in the budget and what's not, and the different amounts. And that's really important because from that information, once the state approves the budget, anything related to education funding gets built into the prototypical school funding model in terms of funding ratios and that sort of thing. In January through March, we're looking carefully at our enrollment because the enrollment is a big driving factor in our apportionment, in our funding overall, and our staffing levels. And then we're looking for potential gaps between state funding and current projected staffing and current projected funding. So those are the kind of things we're doing through that analysis in January through March. Let's go on to the next slide. So April through June, we start really thinking about staffing. We're meeting with principals and directors to get their input about their staffing needs. We're sharing with them what kind of funding that we're receiving from the state around staffing. There's a tool that business managers use called the F203, and we enter our enrollment projections into the F203 and some other factors, like, for example, our regionalization factor. So North Mason has a regionalization factor of 1.12. So it's a little bit of an increase that we get based on where our region is in the state to help offset some of the costs of funding our staff. So there's some other ratios that go in there, like our special education count, our CTE count, things like that. But with that, I have a tool that I can use to build a budget because it gives us our estimated apportionment. And in some cases, it gives us what our categorical program funding will be as well. We're continuing to have meetings with principals, as I mentioned. That's not a one and done deal. There's a lot of listening and talking and looking at our needs and building a vision for what we want to build into the programs for next year and that sort of thing.
And we build our budget based on our building blueprints for multi-tiered systems of support and meeting the needs of students. So we budget for staffing and any other building expenses based on what the building teams identified as the learning needs, looking at their data for kids, and what goals and plans they've written for the following year to meet those needs.
So it's a lot of listening and sharing a vision and talking about possibilities and what we feel is going to be best for students. So there's a little time. We don't have a lot of time, but we do have a month or so to really think about that deeply and be very intentional and use the budget to support those needs. We're also using this time to look at other potential revenues, such as possible grants. We analyze trends in how much forest money we receive, impact aid, These are smaller amounts, but they do make a difference and they do matter. We consider our levy revenues and that kind of thing. We use this time to collect our ASB budgets because I don't build the ASB budget or the business office doesn't. We provide some consulting, we advise, we review and make sure that the budgets are done properly. But we have each building, those that are working in ASB, they provide that budget and then I enter it into the system. If we see something that doesn't look correct, we're going to give them some feedback and give them an opportunity to update it before they send it back to us. The business office works very closely with HR because 85% of our budget is towards staffing. And so HR has a huge role in building our budget for the school district. So we work closely with HR. We also look at our MSOCs. Those are all of those operational costs that it takes to run a district. So I work closely with our facilities and maintenance director, IT director, and other directors to really get an idea of what the needs are for our MSOCs. I work with transportation in considering our transportation needs and whether we're going to purchase school buses or we're going to hold on to our transportation depreciation or how much we want to hold on to reserve for a purchase at another time. I do present a preliminary budget. So during our June board meeting, I'll be doing that. It's a rough draft budget, if you will, and that will give you an opportunity to see where we're headed and to provide me with some feedback that I can take as I continue working on the budget. Let's go on to July and August. So here, it really comes down to the wire because school districts are required to submit their budget to their ESD, and we belong to ESD 114 in Bremerton, to submit that by July 10th. So it is a partnership. They are working with us to help support the process. They will review our budget and give me some feedback. So they have some tools that they use to analyze the budget, and they're looking for certain criteria and certain things. They want to make sure we're doing, have really careful planning in our budget, that it looks like we will be able to stay within our budget, that we are on target with our expected revenues and expenditures. So they'll give us some feedback, and then we have a little bit of time to work with that, and then we can resubmit that and ask them what they think after we made those revisions. We do need to approve the budget by the end of August, and what I mean by approve is the school board has to approve the budget during a school board, a budget hearing during a school board meeting. That needs to be put in the newspaper 2 weeks before that meeting and then 1 week before that meeting in the area newspaper. During the school board meeting, I will present the entire budget in its entirety, and if it's approved, we will be signing a board resolution approving the budget, and then it gets submitted to OSPI. So that's the process in a nutshell. Do you have any questions?
No. Thank you for that explanation.
Very thorough.
Thank you, Dan.
Good job, Dan.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We do have a spot on here for legislative representative, and Arla's not here, and she also said she didn't have anything for that. So we are down to the assurance of organizational performance and policy review. Onto the monitoring report, ER 11 district calendar, and I'll entertain a motion to accept the administration believes that all provisions of this policy that we find the superintendent's performance to comply with ER 11.
I'll make a motion to find the superintendent in compliance with ER 11 district calendar.
Okay. And any discussion on that?
I only had one question about the monitoring report under 4 for the appropriately involved parents and staff. I wasn't sure if that answer for 5 was meant to be 4, or,
Yeah, it looks like the sentence got deleted from what you were, yeah. No, I think the bottom part, so there's a sentence by 5 that says the collective bargaining agreement, that's about staff. Yeah, the number for 5 just shouldn't be there.
oh, okay, that's what I thought,
was an
but
extra
I was just
number.
like, if we're gonna sign off on this, I
No,
wanted to
no,
make
no,
sure.
no. We used the
Okay.
committee to involve the parents and stuff. We just got an extra number in there in the typing
She does all the
process.
Great.
cleanup afterwards and
Yeah,
editing and all that.
Yeah.
As long
Okay.
as the information is.
that's a good catch, though. Thank you.
Yeah.
No, Word has done that so many times for me, it's not even funny,
Yeah.
so.
Good. All right, we've always had, it's always been wonderfully done. The district calendar has been set out in front of us to see before we do this so that we are ready to vote on it, so, yeah, it's very great.
You know, one thing I think's interesting about the calendar process and the balanced calendar process, because we participated in that a little bit, but we've been meeting with staff, well, obviously before I got here, but I know I've been meeting with staff and with NMEA to look at calendar and look what's best for kids and staff over the last 10 years, and we've kind of tweaked things a little bit at a time to get to what we feel just everybody feels works best. And we've looked at things like bringing in some interim work to do with kids during breaks and tried some of that out and stuff. And so the tweaks that we have made very slowly and very carefully and working together are the things that in many districts they're talking about right now and trying to make all at once, and it's creating a higher level of anxiety than working with our staff over that 10 years. We've kind of created the calendar that other districts are trying to get to, and I just think that that is really a good example of how when we work together in this district, we can get a lot done and we can be really thoughtful team members. So, wanted to say that.
Very good. Thank you, Dana. All right, and was there anything else for that? Okay. Not hearing any, and my words are sleeping. Everybody for it signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye as well, not hearing any opposed, that passes. We are down to the adjournment phase, to the good of the order, board and superintendent. We'll start with Dana.
Okay, I actually have a couple things. So at our last month's board meeting, we had some folks come and speak with us. And one of the staff members who spoke had a letter with her from a student that she was going to read and then she didn't read aloud. And so she emailed it to me and asked me to share it with the board. And I decided to read it to you tonight because when the staff member was not the parent of the student, sent it to me. And the letter is addressed to me, not to the board. But they did ask that I share it with you, so I wanted to make sure that we read that into the record. So I'm going to start by reading that. It said, hello, my name is Alejandra Geiser. I am a high school senior within the North Mason School District. I am writing this letter to express my concern about the decision to ban teachers' children in the classroom before and after school. In my elementary school days, I can remember my teachers inviting their children to stay in the classroom after they were done with their schooling for the day. I specifically remember in 3rd grade, my teacher had her daughter Hannah come in and help with things around the classroom. I believe she was in 8th grade at the time, but she seemed much older and cooler than us 3rd graders. My classmates and I naturally looked up to Hannah and viewed her as an example. This was because she was somewhat relatable too. Although she seemed much older than us, there was only a 5-year age gap between us. She was respectful, helped around the classroom, and would help teach small groups occasionally. This made us want to also be respectful to the teacher, be helpful, and we were motivated to learn. It gave us a chance to be excited about being a middle schooler and learn. The alternative program, the Right at School childcare program, is incredibly expensive. I was told it would sum up to be approximately $500 a month for a daycare plan. $500 can buy about a month's worth of groceries for a family of 4. The average household cannot financially afford an extra $500 coming out of their pay each month. Banning children from staying in the building an hour or two after their schooling is over and making daycare the only other option is adding another unreasonable expense to families that most likely cannot afford it. Most importantly, this can cause a disconnect within the community. It causes a disconnect between the faculty and authority due to the lack of understanding and alternative problem solving. It also causes a disconnect between elementary kids and the older kids. Both elementary kids and older kids benefit from the human connection that is achieved through helping in simple tasks around the classroom. It can cause a disconnect between elementary kids and the faculty due to the lack of relatable examples to help guide them. I believe that there should be more interactions between the upper grades and the lower grades to inspire each other and to help each other grow. I am unsure of the reasoning behind the implication of this upcoming decision to ban teachers' children in the building, but I'm sure there can be other ways to accomplish a compromise. She ends with her email, and if I have any concerns or questions, and thank you for your time, Alejandra Geiser. And I plan to contact Alejandra and thank her for her words and her input. And so I just wanted to share that with you. A couple other things. I have heard from Department of Natural Resources Department of Fish and Wildlife, I get the two confused, who are our partner who is now in charge of Feller Wetlands. And they have asked us to consider contributing to the cost of the utilities in the wetlands classroom. And at this point, you know, we're happy, we had a conversation with them, but when we made the transition to donate those spaces, that space, those acres to the Department of Natural Resources, and we made the request to have first use of the classroom, we also made certain that the Department of Fish and Wildlife recognized the very valuable resource that they were receiving from us without any financial incentive other than allowing us to use the classroom. So at this point, on the behalf of the district, I have said no. I think we just have a brand new agreement that we all agreed in September. Let's see how it works. So I just wanted to make you aware of that. And then on a really exciting note, we got a confirmation letter today. We nominated a teacher, Christine York from James Taylor Night Program particularly, for Teacher of the Year. And she has been selected as the Regional ESD 114 Teacher of the Year and goes on to participate in the process to potentially be the Washington Teacher of the Year. So we're really excited for Christine, and we started celebrating that on our website and social media today, and just wanted to share that with the board.
That is so great.
Awesome.
That's awesome.
That is, that's like a big, small packet of information, but a lot of good stuff in there. I don't have, actually a small thing from Arla. She went to the career fair as Mason Health, and she said that everybody was really, the kids were very inspired and adorable. And I was like, maybe we shouldn't use adorable, but then I had to think, it was elementary, so, it is, right? It was elementary, right?
High school.
Was it? Yeah. Okay, well, then I wasn't good. I didn't want to use adorable, but I think in the sense of that, of everybody asking, and I think she was really excited herself, so. And then my only thing, as far as our community, everybody watch out there with the driving. We're getting the warm weather, and I'm kind of talking to people in the camera there, but we've had a couple of instances where, like, the police were involved, and they're cracking down on some good stuff out there, but it's really dangerous. So I hope people pay attention a little bit more in town. We've had a lot of fender benders and car accidents, and then a drug bust actually on the way out. So amen for that, but watch out there. That's my community, pay attention this month, so.
The only couple things I have, so my wife attended the concert, the district-wide concert the other day, and that was just a great event. Went off really well. Softball-wise, I can't thank enough, Emily's not here, but those girls are working their tail off. The results aren't really showing, but They are coming to work and working hard, so really good group of girls.
That's wonderful.
Yep, that's it.
Well, congratulations again to Emily for graduating tonight. But also, I think it's pretty awesome that our district received the Purple Star Award, which is means that as a whole we support military families, students of military families, and so that's really an amazing accomplishment that we were recognized by the state for that.
That's very cool.
And we do, I know firsthand, we do an awesome job at supporting the kids and the families that are making those sacrifices. So, congratulations, yes.
Very good.
Hey.
And my only thoughts, well, one, I was blown away by the samples, et cetera. I mean, I'm a foodie, but I was blown away by that and that's something that I had seen for years. So to hear that being addressed, that was just literally food for my soul, you know. But no, the other thing I wanted to bring up is going back to Alejandra's letter and that topic. You know, I just want to say that I've witnessed administrators trying to work with their staff. I've seen passion about it. They want what's best for the children. They want safety to be involved. They want the teachers to feel supported. So there's a lot of things that need to be juggled there. But I wanted to highlight the poise that I've seen some of these administrators show in the line of fire. And they are on the front lines. They don't have perfect responses, but to see the way they professionally handle some of the things that come at them in the passion of the moment, I've been very impressed with the level of some of our administrators, and I think it should be noted, so.
Very good.
We'll share that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Very good. All right, and we are down to our board self-assessment, actually. Director Thomas, you are on today.
Okay, so this is the first time I've done this, and I think I've only seen it done twice.
There's no messing it up, you're fine.
So, and we just go item by item, correct?
Yeah,
Okay.
however you want to do it.
So there's sections for general meeting behavior and also governance principles. I'll go through the general meeting behavior. The agenda was and these are either satisfactory or not satisfactory. The agenda was well planned to focus on the real work of the board. Felt that was satisfactory. The board followed its agenda and did not allow itself to get sidetracked. Satisfactory. Board members prepared for and contributed to the meeting. Satisfactory. The meeting proceeded without interruptions or distractions. Satisfactory. And I will note the help from the group too with the display. That was excellent, so thank you so much. She put a lot of thought into that, so thank you. The board's deliberations and decision-making processes were public. Satisfactory. Participation was balanced. All participate, no one was dominated. Satisfactory. Members listened attentively, avoiding side conversations. Satisfactory. Work was conducted in an atmosphere of trust and openness. Also satisfactory. And meeting participants treated each other with respect and courtesy. Found that all of these were satisfactory. As far as governance principles to review, these were either yes, no, or non-applicable. Board actions occur at the policy level rather than at the operational level, yes. The board reviews policy about each topic before discussing that issue, yes. In writing additional policies, the board starts with a broad statement and becomes more detailed in a logical and disciplined sequence. That was, I would say, non-applicable today. The board minimizes time spent monitoring past performance, yes. The board routinely dedicates time to reviewing and improving its own process, yes. The board clarifies priorities, values when considering potential outcomes, beneficiaries, and costs of outcomes, yes. The board follows an annual calendar based on a plan for doing its work, yes. The board chair helps the board efficiently conduct its meeting, yes. The board spends most of its time deliberating issues, defining and clarifying its vision, and linking with its community as opposed to fixing things, yes. The board supports the superintendent in any reasonable interpretation of its policies. found that as yes. So overall, I would rank us and mark us as satisfactory for this meeting.
Thank you.
Great, good job. I always choke up when I have to do it, so I don't ever feel like I do it right, but you did a wonderful job. All right. The next board meeting date is falling on the fourth Monday, which is also Memorial Day. And so we are going to be holding our meeting on May 21st. And is that okay with everybody for May 21st? I don't know if we actually checked on that last time. And I wanted to open mine as well. I mean, I'm acting like I have a whole bunch going on, so I'm checking mine. There's something going on. I'm like, oh yeah, everybody else is checking. Well, it's so-and-so's birthday, so I can't do it. No, I'm there. I'm good.
Yeah, that's the Tuesday instead of that week
Yeah,
after
yeah.
Memorial Day.
Yeah, is that everybody okay?
Yeah.
And if it's not, you can let us all know. And then, thank you to everybody that came and presented today, and I will adjourn today at 8:39 on my clock.
Perfect.
All right.
Thank
Can
you.
you hand me her food?